What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance, everybody. And this is a draft. So it's
not a draft.
It's bromance, but it's fomance.
This isn't a draft.
We're not doing a draft?
No, this is just we got to remake this. This isn't a draft at all, man. This is just us spitballing. This is us making a pitch. So, Richard, recently, this is kind of funny. So, recently, I went and saw...
Oh, my God, I have a whole list of shit
well,
here.
No, that's good. I'm excited.
Okay.
So, I went and saw Creed 2, and I saw the first Creed that came out and, absolutely loved it. So, I'm not opposed to, remakes or reboots, but typically what you get with a remake or a reboot or a reimagination is it's the exact same thing, just different. And what really got me kicked into this is discussions
so it's oxymoronic is what you're saying.
Sure.
It's the same but different.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people recently, there was a survey out there that said, okay, what movies, what trilogies do you want to see remade? And Back to the Future was the top one that people want to see be remade.
No.
Yeah. But see, to me, that's the same thing. Like if you said, oh, well, they should remake Rocky. It's like, why would you remake Rocky?
Interesting thing. I've heard, and this is just me reading random shit on the internet. I've heard that Robert Zemeckis actually owns all the rights to the entire Back to the Future series, and he has sworn on his grave that it will not be rebooted.
I've heard something about that, yeah. But as I see these things, like Creed kind of broke the mold because it's kind of a reboot or reimagining. But it's not Rocky. It's a character from the original. It's like an extension of the universe. And I thought what would be fun is for us to make our pitches for the movies that, you could say well, they should never remake those. And if a studio comes in and says, we need to remake movie X, we say, no, we need to Creed this and we need to do this thing. And I've got 6 movies that I think would be fun to do that with. Sounds like you've got a few more.
I have a few. So, yeah, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, I like how you were like, no, we need to take the characters and put them. Isn't that what a sequel is called?
Kind of. Well, I mean, what would you call Creed? To me, Creed's not a sequel. It's kind of it's a reboot or reimagination, but it's an extension of the universe.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, an extension of the universe. Yeah, sure. But I mean, because you can't call it Rocky 8 or whatever one they're on now.
But you could have. I mean, they could have called it Rocky 8. But see, that's the thing that makes me nervous with a lot of these talks is they want to take these properties that are known, and they want to take these properties and reboot it because people know what that is.
Well, I feel like the other reason they want to reboot stuff like this is because it gives them a chance to do a new cast, and not just that, but also lock in a set cast that they can continue on into other films. Best example I can think of would be X-Men First Class, where they pretty much they recast all the X-Men. You had a new Professor X, you had a new Magneto, you had a new Mystique, you had Hank McCoy, you had an entirely new cast of characters, and then you lock them in so that way you can do 2 or 3 more movies with them. Not just that, but then you had a movie that put the old X-Men cast with the new X-Men cast, and
that one's. I mean, that's not really a reboot. I'm trying to think of Spider-Man. Spider-Man's a great example. Even though it's not really kind of what I think of these original trilogies, but you had Spider-Man, and then it rebooted into Amazing Spider-Man, and then they rebooted again. All 3 have nothing to do with each other, but they're kind of the same story. Batman's done this. You see a lot with superhero movies, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think of I picked these very high-profile ones that haven't been rebooted or reimagined at all. And I figured, let's start out with the one I just initiated with when a survey came out, and it said what we need to do, or what people are saying they want, is they want Back to the Future, the trilogy of Back to the Future, to be rebooted. So I say no.
I say no.
Do not reboot it.
I say dead no.
The original 3 are as is, and you're creating an extension. You are creating this, and you're basically coming in, you're saying, I absolutely loved Back to the Future. I think we should continue the story and follow this. And I only wrote one line for this because I figured we could just kind of spitball and pitch it. But my idea is that because, you look at, the timeline now, this year or it was a couple years back, was the year that Marty McFly actually went to the future. We've already passed it. We are past where Marty McFly went.
No, yeah, that was what, 2015?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you set it in the actual Back to the Future, we should be like in flying cars right now, and we're not. So what I think
and hoverboards
and what I think they should do is they say, okay, you got Back to the Future. What you do is you set it in today's time. You set it in 2018 the way it is today, and we follow one of Marty's kids. And Doc then comes from the past to help them, but can't let Marty know. So Marty, original Marty saw all those things of what the future should have been. That didn't happen because at the end of the third one, the way Doc talks about it is like, hey, your future is what you're going to make it. So because whatever Marty did or whatever the universe happened, when they got to 2018, it's just like our 2018. It's not super futuristic 2018. It just is what it is. But instead of taking Marty, what we do is we extend it to one of his kids. And maybe it's Doc's kid or something like that. Maybe it's not specifically Doc, but follow somebody else that puts him in kind of a similar situation.
Oh, yeah, because Doc did have 2 kids at the end of the third one.
Yeah, that's true.
Jules and Vern.
Yeah. I don't know.
There you go.
But
don't say that. I never saw it.
But like you look at Creed, it was definitely like you kind of Creed 2 now, spoilers. You could tell that had Sylvester Stallone's hands all over it. The original Creed,
it's his property.
Well, no, but he was a co-writer on it as well. I don't think he co-wrote on Creed.
No, yeah.
So
yes,
in Creed 2, you've got very much like Sylvester Stallone, like this is Rocky 9. Essentially. But I think with this, like you make it just this new thing. You follow these new characters. So, like I said, you follow one of Marty's kids, and Doc or one of his kids come in, and he has to go back to the future or has to go back to the past.
Do they still have the train?
I think at this point you'd have to have like the DeLorean, maybe. Like I think that's like the iconic thing that you would keep.
The DeLorean got destroyed.
Maybe they have to go back
at the end of the third
DeLorean.
one.
That's true. But I mean, like I said, you could get a DeLorean. They could have retrofitted it. I mean, he could have made one in his dad's honor. Like maybe Doc died. And so
I'm saying they had a time traveling train.
Is that better though? I mean, the DeLorean's pretty awesome.
I don't know. The train fucking flew. So
that's true. What would it be? So, okay, so you put it now. So 2018, Doc's kids come around. He gets to build his own time traveling machine to come and get one of Marty's kids.
What would you do? I feel like what you have to do is I feel like you have to take like a car that kind of looked cool but nobody really bought, because that's what the DeLorean was. Like the DeLorean, like it had the open, the big the top opening doors and shit like that. And Marty was like, "You made a time machine out of a DeLorean."
Do you remember the Chevy retro truck they made a few years back? The SSR, yeah. So it looked like a roadster. Look it up real quick.
Make it have a PT Cruiser.
It kind of has a PT Cruiser look to it, but it's you get one of those in a dark color because it's like based off the '54 truck design, but it was a new one. Like not very many people bought them, but when they first came out, people were like, "Oh my god, that's pretty cool." Maybe that would be what they would do because it was kind of like it was a cool concept car. Not many people bought them, but it's one of those that you would see and be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that thing." Like today when I see it on the road, I'm like, "Huh, that must be Doc's kid coming back from the past." But I don't feel like you're really invested in this. So what? So
what I'm thinking, what you're saying is that like, okay, so in Back to the Future Part 2, Doc and Marty travel. They go to the future. And then they go back to the present, 1985, and it's all fucking different.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're like, holy shit, something happened to skew the timeline. And so then they, the whole second movie is about them trying to repair the timeline back to what it originally was. But what I'm saying is that you do a movie where Doc is like, the timeline's fucked up. This is why we don't have flying cars. This is why we don't have hoverboards. So we're going to go back and try and fix it. And then, and then as they're trying to fix it, they realize that, that people make the choices they make and that, you have to live with it, that you can't meddle in the affairs of time.
Well, I like that. So yeah, so Doc's kid comes in because Doc's kid's like travels all over.
They made a cartoon about it where they traveled all over.
It's a good cartoon. I remember that. It was like mid-90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you know what they used? The train, the time traveling train.
Did they really? I forgot that. I don't know why I forgot the train part. But no, it's a good point. So the first one is Doc's kid and Marty's kid coming together in the Chevy SSR. And what they do is, Doc's kid's like, listen, you missed out. Like, there should be hoverboards, there should be flying cars, there should be all this crazy tech, but it didn't work because your dad and my dad fucked it up. And we're going to make this rated R. So he's going to cuss. Like, he's going to be badass. And so he's like, what we need to do is we need to go back to the past and fix it.
Yeah.
Because what you could do, like with technology today, they could intercut different things from the originals to kind of fit them in, which would be pretty cool if they did it right. So they go to the past.
You could use that fucking technology and young Marty McFly up and young Doc up.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so they go to the past, because you got to make a trilogy out of it. So they go to the past, they do their thing, and they come to the future, and that's where it's like, oh shit, like we made the future like worse.
Yeah.
And you could do the same thing, like where they go like way too much in the future. Like maybe they come back to now, and there's like hoverboards and maybe flying cars. And it's kind of like okay, and Marty's kid's like, all right, see you, Doc Jr. It's like, oh my god, this is great. And he walks in, and maybe his dad's gone and his mom's gone. He's like, well, this is fucked up. What's going on? And then that's when you realize, like, oh my god, Marty Jr., we fucked up. We gotta go back to the future.
See, but I'm saying, like, so then at the end, you have Doc and Marty show up, and they're like, look, like,
well, that's
the lesson after all this fucking time travel, the lesson we learned is that things aren't set in stone.
I think that's you do in the third one. So the second one would be, so the first one, they're trying to fix the current timeline.
Oh, you're making a whole new trilogy.
Oh, you couldn't just make it one. It's kind of like Creed. Like they did Creed 1, Creed 2. They're going to do a Creed 3. So the first one's they're trying to fix the current timeline to have all the cool stuff. Realize, oh crap, we fucked that up. So they have to go to the future and then back. And then the third one, you follow the same recipe that the original did. So in the third one, like maybe you go way, way back. Like maybe you go back to cowboy times, and maybe something in that is what screwed it up. But that's where like they meet old Marty and old Doc in the cowboy times. Maybe because they're going back to visit, and that's where like, hey, listen, kids, like the future's what you make it. Like you can't fuck with the timeline. It's just it is what it is. Like you make the most of it. The future isn't written for you, Marty. It is what it is. It is what you make it. And then a whole new generation's like, oh my god, like I can be something in this world. I can control my destiny.
Yeah, and then they all find out. Then 20 years later, they find out they can't.
Yeah, and they're failed
like
podcasters. Yeah. We'd have to fit podcasting in that somewhere.
Maybe they have one.
Which actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, we could really make all these like revolve around podcasting. But what do you think? So that's kind of my pitch for Back to the Future Trilogy 2, an extension of the universe.
I mean, I like it. I think it would be. I feel like it would be. You would have. It's kind of a needle to thread because you'd need. Because I feel like with a lot of these, I feel like a lot of it comes down to casting, and I feel like you would need that perfect kind of like Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox. Like,
oh yeah.
There was a chemistry with them on screen. Like it was good.
Who would you cast?
And I feel like you need that same you need kind of that same element in there. Otherwise, I feel like the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, I think you could reverse it though. Like you could cast Chris Pratt as the Doc character.
Not Chris Pratt. That dude's got plenty of fucking work.
No, I know, but like somebody like a Ryan Reynolds, like somebody of that like goofy, like
why's he gotta
over the
be
top.
So old?
Doesn't have to be. I'm just saying somebody of that like that kind of flavor.
No, see, I'm saying you go with somebody that maybe has had some decent roles, but maybe not had like a huge break.
No, I'm not saying specifically those guys. I'm saying like somebody of that. Like you make the Doc character not as because like Marty was the more like laid back, cool skater dude, guitar guy. You switch the roles. You make the Doc kind of like he's a scientist, but he's more of like the Ryan Reynolds, like Van Wilder type thing. And then you make the Marty character
fucking flip the script on the two. Oh, that's good.
And maybe you make the Marty character a girl, I don't know what character I can think of that would fit that, but kind of a little bit more nerdy. I mean, just maybe a guy too, kind of more nerdy, more like in the books. Like, you see Michael J. Fox, like, hey, you want to jam on my guitar with me? It's like, no, sorry, Dad, I got to study. It's like, oh, okay.
And then, yeah, I think that would work. I think that could work.
Because I mean, that's kind of you have the same story, but you flip it enough that's like, oh my God, the roles are reversed. Or like you think of Creed, like. Rocky wasn't like he didn't have like inner violent demon issues, not demon issues, but just like inner issues. Whereas like Creed is like it's flipped on on its head a little bit. It's a guy fighting for a different reason that you're like, oh, like this isn't what Rocky was fighting for. It's like but he's fighting for an image of something, and that's what you kind of do here. You flip it a little bit, so it's kind of yin and yang, but reversed.
Yeah.
Who would be better? Like who would be the Marty equivalent?
I don't know. See, honestly, when you're talking about something like this, I feel like it's something that you can't, like, I couldn't sit here and pick out a name. Honestly, what I would, if I was in charge and I had like, if I was running a movie studio and they were like, okay, we're going to do this. Who are we casting? And people start yelling out names like Chris Pratt, Ryan Reynolds, blah, 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 yelling out like bigger names. And be like, you know what? Like, let's actually do auditions and let's try and find.
Yeah, but I'm writing the script, so I use when I said Ryan Reynolds or Chris Pratt, I'm using more like their more
sensibility.
Character. Yeah, like I'm thinking like a Van Wilder, like a very like hip, very like witty kind of like one-liner doc, and then the Marty's more of like like I'm in my books, God, I wish I could figure out like a great like equivalent to that, but I can't think of anything specific.
Yeah, but you know what? Like Doc wasn't nerdy. I wouldn't classify the Doc as nerdy. I mean, yeah, he built a time machine, but fuck, he was buying plutonium off of Libyans.
But I don't think
and
he was,
hanging out in the Wild West. And
he wasn't very quippy though. Like he was kind of like just like whatever he said he meant, like very scientific, very like Spockian.
Yeah, okay.
And I just want a little bit more of a hip, fresh Doc, I guess. But yeah, so that's my Back to the Future. That's what started off. I'll go with my second one because this is another fun one I thought of.
Okay.
Because we did a reboot draft probably a year or two ago, and this was one that was like my money shot pick. And you're like, no, you cannot touch this one whatsoever. And to me, like this triggered like, oh my gosh, like if you created this movie, like I think you created your own trilogy off of it. And maybe
I feel like we're about ready to have an argument.
Maybe, but in the podcasting question made me even kick in a little bit more. It's like, oh my God, you could do it this way, Richard. So I think what you could do, and they've talked about it a little bit, but Richard, everybody loves shark movies.
Okay.
Shark movies, like even that one with Blake Lively about like the shore, the reef, like tons of people went to it, and that was stupid. Like how she killed the shark was impossible and ridiculous. But what you do, Richard, is you reimagine, you extend out the series Jaws. What you do, because Jaws 2, 3, 4, 5, they followed the Brody family, right? Was it the Brodies?
I don't fucking remember.
I think it was the Brodies.
How many did they make? Did they make?
I think
5?
They made 4.
4?
Because
they made 4.
Jaws the Revenge, Jaws 3 is in the SeaWorld place, and then Jaws 4 is Jaws in Hawaii.
But I felt like, see, that one always, like, they were different sharks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like the end of Jaws, they blew up the shark. So obviously the shark in Jaws 2 is not the shark from Jaws 1 because the shark from Jaws 1 blew up.
Yeah, but the connection there is it's the same family. That's what kind of ties it together. It's like, oh my God, you're the Brody Kerr shark family. And so like your thing is like, okay, so what's the easy thing you do here? You have a Brody grandson and they get whatever and they're on, like they don't like the water and they go on an island, or they're going to Cancun and their plane crashes, and it's like no, fuck that. That's lazy writing. You know what you do, Richard? There was one person in this movie, in this series, that was only in the very first episode. He didn't die. He lived. Richard, the scientist. He survived.
Richard Dreyfuss's character?
He survived the first one, right? He had this whole experience with the shark, and he's like, fuck this. I'm staying away from this family. What you do, Richard, is, and a lot of these I think will probably end up being like kids, because I think that just helps like extend to younger generations. Because instead it's like, well, we'll just follow him still, which you could, but it's like, make it young, make it hip, go to somebody younger. You follow his daughter. And his daughter, Richard, has heard story upon story about how her father fought this man-eating shark. And, we're in an age now where people are like, listen, it's not the shark's fault. Sharks don't attack people unless it's by accident. And we don't make her a scientist. We make her like a journalist, which like you were just talking, like maybe she's a podcaster. She's working for like some big, news publication as a podcasting, like, oh my God, you're a scientist. I can't remember what his name is. You're a scientist, so. Like, podcasts are hip right now. And like, oh, so you say, like, who knows podcasting? That was the big thing in the new Halloween movie. I don't think you've seen it yet, though, have you?
I haven't.
The people kind of investigating, they're podcast investigators. And so that's what you do with her. So they're like, hey, guess what? We're going to put you on remote. We're going to put you through this. You're going to go to all these places and investigate all these weird things that happen to the Brodies and whatnot. And she's like, oh my God, like I'm trying to get out of this, my father's weird mythological shadow. I want to go and make my own. Like I want to go in like war zones. And
so does Richard Dreyfuss have like flashbacks, like almost like non-flashbacks? But
I think she would have cameos. Like she would probably be like, listen, I got to do this job. He's like, oh, listen, like don't. She's like, listen, shark attacks. You're more likely to get struck by lightning than a shark attack. And he's like, oh my God.
And he's like, bitch, talk to my fucking leg.
Yeah.
Talk to Quint's face. Oh, you can't because he's dead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the dad dies of a heart attack, which the mom says because of sharks. The son, Shawn, died from getting his arm bit off. They don't really say what happened after the fourth one. I think their mom's new husband got killed. He was like British or something.
Oh.
But yeah, you follow her going through this, and she's trying to get past her father. And like his father's like, you should do science. Like they were a science family. She's like, no, Dad, I want to be a journalist. And as she's going through all this, Richard, I mean, obviously because it's Jaws, her investigating leads her into shark attacks.
I mean, to me, if you look at every Jaws movie, there's a killer shark. Oh my God! Through a series of completely random happenstance events, the shark manages to, get around and kill people.
Yeah. Once you get into the later ones, the family kind of is like, oh my God, we're cursed, which you're kind of like, but I mean, 4 movies, track record kind of shows like maybe, but they've talked years for doing a Jaws 5. And like to me, it's like if they're gonna reboot Jaws, I don't want a shot-for-shot remake of Jaws. I want like a different idea. Like I said, like the Creed idea. And that was kind of my pitch for Jaws, is that you'd follow the scientist's daughter because he had a small part, but it was a big part. And that's what you do. Like when you go into this movie, you're like, oh my God, like I guess maybe this will be a shot-for-shot reboot, or maybe this will follow like one of the sons or grandkids. And you get in there, it's like, oh my God, this is Richard Dreyfuss's daughter. Or maybe it's his granddaughter because it's been a few years. Is he still alive? He's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I know the guy who was the dad, he's dead in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about the mom. She's probably...
I don't know. Like I'm just like as it stands right now, you've not made me want to buy a ticket. Like the Back to the Future thing. I'm like, yeah, I'd watch that. I'd go see that. So like this, I'm kind of like. But to be fair, like I wasn't a huge fan of the Jaws franchise. Like I watched
shark
them.
Movie fan though. Like they came out with
Not
the
really.
Meg, and the Meg, I was like, I'm gonna go see that in theaters because it's a big shark. Like it's kind of like like I like those big like animal monster movies. And I think with this is you kind of bring it back to because Jaws 2, 3, and 4 kind of got to that point. Like it was like ridiculously big Jaws. In Jaws 1, it was a 20-footer, which is pretty rare still, but at least it was a little bit more realistic. And that's what you do here. Like maybe she's going and investigating. And I don't think in this you'd want to reveal like a big like mystery from it. But and this one's not a trilogy, I don't think. I think this is a one-off all on its own. Yeah. And she just goes through and runs through some kind of similar situation and realizes like, oh my God, like there's something fucked up going on. And I want to, like, I'm not going in the water. Like, maybe this is a chick that, like, likes to surf. And what you want to get out of this movie, Richard, I know I'm not selling you on it, but what you want to get out of this movie, Richard.
I'm not there. Sorry.
Is you want to make everybody scared again to go back in the water.
Okay.
Like, you make her a surfer, and then she's like, nope, not doing it. Fuck that. There's sharks in the water. So on Jaws, is there anything that besides rebooting it that like you can think of that would kind of interest you into making this an extended of the
I don't
franchise?
know. I think, and like I said, I would kind of chalk this up more to the fact that it's just not really, it's a genre of movie that I'll watch, but I'm not really, I don't like Jones for it. I'm like, oh, I got to see that next giant shark movie or killer bear movie or man-eating lion movie.
Yeah. So you're not going to go see The Lion King?
No.
Are you not going to go see The Lion King live action?
No, of course I'm going to see The Lion King. Are you fucking kidding me? That shit looks gold.
Well, that's going to be a shot-for-shot remake. And that's what I'm saying with like so
a shot-for-shot remake with James Earl Jones' fucking voice.
So I want to hear your pitch, Richard. So like, to me, I don't want a shot-for-shot remake of Jaws. Like, that's stupid. Like, why give me something that there's already something of? So you're sitting in that meeting, owner or like the head exec comes in and says, all right, guys, listen. Sales are down. We got to use the property Jaws to make up some money. This is probably Universal because I think Universal owns Jaws. I'm thinking, just throwing this out there, we're going to make a Jaws remake, set it in current time, go. But then you're like, what about if we do this instead? And it's an extension of the property, not a shot-for-shot remake. What would your pitch be? Do you have anything or?
I don't know. You got to find. I feel like you need something that is also halfway plausible, but at the same time is just as deadly, like giant squid.
So you're going to make it
to be a shark?
I think it has to be a shark.
Does it have to be a shark?
Jaws.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you could set this in, like, you said in Australia. Maybe she goes to Australia to do like because like there was a story like 4 or 5 years ago of a shark attack where this surfer got killed. This dude on a Sea-Doo went out there to get the body, and the shark chased him off. Like,
oh shit,
that happened in real life. Like, shark attacks are no joke.
What if instead of one big shark, what if it's a bunch of sharks?
That could be. That was actually one of the scripts I think they submitted for Jaws 5. Like back when I was in 8th grade, like the internet, like you could read all about it. And Jaws 5 was an idea that 5 great white sharks would get not really caught, but they'd start hovering around the San Francisco Bay and like start attacking people there, but there'd be 5 of them. So you could do something like that. I'm not saying
maybe 5. I'm saying like a mass of sharks, like a frenzy of fucking sharks.
A school of sharks.
A school of sharks, if you will. A university of sharks.
Maybe. I mean, I could get behind
a graduating class of sharks.
Like she's going to do the story, and somehow there's now. I don't know if you don't like the story idea of her, but I just kind of like that idea of like it's the kid of like a great parent, kind of like Creed. And again, a lot of these kind of follow Creed. Kid of a great parent who doesn't follow in their footsteps, but somehow gets locked into the direction that they went, and their parent's shadow overshadows them. They're trying to break out of it, and she's like, "Fuck, all right, I got to get paid, so I'm gonna do this podcast about the shark attacks from 1974, 5,
I don't know,
7, somewhere in there, 70s, the shark attack of the 70s."
Yeah,
and she's got to share the story, and in doing so, she falls into a frenzy of sharks that now she has to survive.
I mean, like I'm there, and like I said, I think you're just talking to the wrong person because like I'm there, but I'm not there.
Gotcha. Well, I've got 4 more, but give me one of yours from the draft you tried to set up.
Okay, so I've got a list, or I'll name one. I'll tell you what, I'll name a couple off, and then if one of them piques your interest, then you'd be like, "Tell me about this."
Okay.
All right. Ready? Here we go. First one, Fifth Element.
Okay.
The one with damn. God, I was like, I don't know. Okay, ready? How about this one? Now this one you gotta be like, okay, like sell me on this. Okay, ready? The Goonies.
Okay, sell me on this one. And this is not
okay.
This is the Goonies movie exist.
Yes, the Goonies movie exists. Everything happened. All right.
Did you know they were gonna make a Goonies 2? There's a video game and everything for it.
Yeah. Yeah, they put the game out.
Yeah. I played it a little bit. It was kind of tough.
On the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah, it did.
So here you go, Goonies 2. Or not even Goonies 2. I don't know what you'd call it. But same town, same neighborhood, because at the end, because what was the Goonies about? Okay, the Goonies, yes, they were, getting pirate treasure and whatever, but what was their motivation? The whole motivation was that the neighborhood was going to get knocked down for a fucking golf course.
That's true.
And you're telling me that still goes on today. So you have a bunch of neighborhood kids that, like, their parents are freaking out because, bills are piling up and somebody's
One-Eyed Willie's money ran out.
They want to put like a fucking Walmart up or some stupid shit, or an artisanal coffee house or wherever the fuck.
Starbucks. Like, we've only got 6 of them in this town. We need 12 more.
Exactly.
And you know what you can't watch at Starbucks? Porn.
Yeah. And so then the kids find out. I'm thinking either A, One-Eye Willie had treasure caches stashed all over, like up and down that coastline, because they were along the coast, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking either A, One-Eye Willie had treasure stashes like along the coastline, and they're going to go try and find them, or B, you have like a huge thing that is buried somewhere like around the town.
So are these kids of the first Goonies, or are these?
They don't necessarily see. That's the thing. That's the beauty part that I think of it, is they don't necessarily have to be, because that was a big cast. You had Data, you had Brant, you had Mouth and Chunk and all those dudes, right?
Yeah.
So maybe some of them could be, but some of them don't have to be.
And the main kid who was like the big One-Eyed Willie freak, maybe he's like the librarian in town, and like he's a little bit older and like he can't, like, because you want to set in today, like it's been 20 some odd years and the money's run out. The same,
because think about it. You could basically do something similar to like National Treasure.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what happens. Like somehow they get the keys. Like, oh my god! Like they go to the library and like it's the kids, 6 kids or whatever. Not related.
They're not going to the library. They're looking at shit online. Live in the now, Shawn. Live in the present.
Well, how are they going to
live in today?
Well, okay. This is how it will happen. So, town's like about ready to shut down. The local internet that's there is like, it's like, all right, sorry guys, we're cutting you out because we know you're not going to be here. We're collecting all of our stuff. You're out. And they're like, well, where the fuck can we go? It's like, well, library's still got internet. So they go to the library, they're typing away, just like looking up porn, playing Fortnite or whatever fucking kids do these days. And then the original main kid, which is who's the main kid?
Sean Astin.
Yes, you keep him in there because he looks weird now, like fat and old. And he's the librarian.
God.
And he comes in and he's telling the kids, and they're like, oh my god, like you're the guy that saved the town, right? He's like, yeah, we found One-Eyed Willie's cash.
Oh my god. Wait. What if the dude that like is trying to like buy out houses in the town to like, bulldoze shit, what if it's fucking Josh Brolin?
Yeah. Oh yes, that'd work. Okay. So that's why the town's going down.
So then it's like brother versus brother?
Yeah, it's kind of like
because Bran was always like, you're fucking stupid, Mikey. You're just trying to find treasure and shit like that, and you're a fucking retard. But then fucking Mikey is like, no, like the places we're saving.
Yeah. And Bran took his cash and like he invested it and became like a millionaire.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
But that's the thing is, so like when they're going there, he's like, oh my god, you found One-Eye Willie's like money. He's like, oh, like, I wish we could go out and find like that again. And he's like, oh, well, did I ever tell you about One-Eyed Willie's second set of hiding or a second hideout? Or maybe, I don't know, you make up somebody else's name, like Bucktooth Jones, One-Eyed Willie's brother. Oh no shit, yeah, that's what you do. You make up a separate name, and it's One-Eyed Willie's brother, who had a bunch of money too, and he's got it cashed away somewhere.
No, not even his brother. No. It's his first mate. It's One-Eyed Willie's first mate that stole a bunch of the fucking treasure off the ship and then hid it somewhere in town, and that's why fucking all the pirates were dead on the ship, because One-Eyed Willie was afraid people were going to steal his treasure, and they found out his first mate did, and so the first mate fucking killed everybody. Or this is first mate, and then One-Eyed Willie killed everybody.
I like that. See, so that's why everybody was dead on the ship. So the reason was, like, let's say, because One-Eye, like most pirates had more than one ship, right? So,
well, not just that, pirates would always have more than one stash of treasure, and they would always like carry their treasure inland. That's why have the whole X marks the spot and everything.
Well, I was thinking like Buckeye Jones or Bucktooth Jones. What he did is he killed them all. He's like, all right, One-Eyed Willie, this is your ship and your gold. This is your cut. I'm taking the other 6 ships and I'm running. But then he was scared because he's like, fuck, somebody's going to do this to me. So he took all the ships into like a cove somewhere, and that's where he ended up dying by himself with these 6 ships. And that's where they have to go find it.
No, because I don't know about that. Because then the story, the story that Mikey tells in the beginning, he talks about like this about all these British ships that go after One-Eye Willie, and One-Eye Willie's just on his one ship. I think you just have the first mate like have 2 or 3 guys, and they, get in a huge fight, and and then the first mate, fucking Buckeye Jones or Bucktooth Jones, steals a bunch of the treasure and heads inland, while One-Eye Willie like fucking loses his shit when he finds out like half of his stash is gone, and then starts stabbing all these motherfuckers on the ship. So now you have this whole other thing going on where like there's like maybe there's a cave, or maybe there's a and like things have been built over it or whatever.
But if he steals just some of the gold from the ship, it's not going to, because like most of the gold was still on the ship. Is it really going to be enough to buy back the town when well, I guess they just stole the marbles, didn't they?
All they had was that little bag of rupees.
So I guess
and they were able,
yeah.
And they were able to fucking.
I guess you could say like whatever they saw, because maybe the ship gets, so Brolin.
Because at the end of the first movie, the ship fucking sails off.
Brolin gets that ship. So in between this and that one, he like takes an effort, goes out and gets that ship because there's a shit ton of gold on it, right?
Yeah, right.
But what he discovers and what we find in the intro to this new movie is that it was only partially full. Like the amount of gold that should have been on the ship wasn't, because, and that's what our man Mikey knows or learns, is that the first mate of One-Eyed Willie took like 2/3 or 3/4 of that gold and took it somewhere inland and hid it.
Yep. Because because like I said, because maybe there was a fight or something that.
I like that because so the kids are like, it's like, oh, like One-Eyed Willie, yada yada. It's like, oh yeah, I remember like there was like all this talk about how there should have been like so much gold and there was barely any. One-Eyed Willie was a shitty pirate, and Mikey's like, no, One-Eyed Willie was an amazing pilot until he was backstabbed by his brother, his first mate,
Bucktooth Jones.
Yeah. But that's the thing, you make it a parallel. So One-Eyed Willie and his brother, first mate, stabbed him in the back, took most of his gold. And then his brother's like, oh my God, Mikey, you're a dumbass. Like there should have been a shit ton of gold. Like I should have been able to buy all the state. I could barely buy this town. That's why he does it too, because of spite. He's like, fuck you, Mikey.
Yeah.
I'd pay for that movie.
Right? And like, and I mean, in terms of like what actually happens during the movie and shit like that, I mean, you could fucking, my only thing with it though is I feel like you need a more of a direct adversary, because in the Goonies you had the Fratellis, you had these hardened criminals that were fucking like chasing after them, which was in a way kind of helping to push the movie along. Do you like do you make it like treasure hunters, or do you make it? See, that's the thing, is I don't know. Like, I don't know if you want to make it like treasure hunters, or I
mean, you can make it Brolin's, like maybe Brolin's business partners, but then you're getting him kind of like dark and creepy.
Or maybe Brolin like hires like an investigator or something like that.
Maybe an investigator, yeah. And he's like kind of feeding back, is like, oh my God, Brolin, guess what? Like One-Eyed Willie had a lot more gold and these kids have found it. It's Bucktooth Jones. He's like, well, that's weird. Mikey never told me that. Yeah.
Mikey never told me about Bucktooth Jones.
Oh, and he goes to see him?
Brolin goes to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes to see him at the library. He's like, why didn't you ever say shit about Bucktooth Jones? He's like, you never fucking believe me about One-Eyed Willie, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. All you fucking care about is getting this town as a golf course. That's all you ever wanted.
Yeah.
Did they make up?
You know what? I'm glad Amy left you with fucking.
Do you think? Did they make up in the end? Did Brolin and his brother make up? Like,
yeah, because then I feel like you got to have that moment where Brolin could like end it all, but then he's like, you know what? This isn't worth it.
Oh shit! You know what you do at the end when they find the cache of gold? There really isn't any, because maybe Bucktooth Jones got backstabbed too. and it's just like this big pinned letter about how he hated that he backstabbed his brother and how wealth and investment and like all this stuff was like not worth it. He lived a life that like should have been with his brother sailing the seas, and that's the treasure. It's kind of like Wings. It's like the last episode of Wings, really. I don't know if you know that, but basically their dad tells them that they are like millionaires, and what they find is just a picture of them as kids. Like, the real treasure's family. And that's what you get here at the end. It's like, oh my God, brother, let's turn the internet back on for the town. I'd pay for that.
Perfect.
I just got teary-eyed thinking about it.
And see, and then like I said, you could just and just throughout the movie, you could fucking interweave other characters. You could interweave characters from the Goonies.
Yeah. Any ones that would sign on, then
maybe Chunk fucking kept kept something that, he shoved something in his pocket or something like that was on the ship that might be like the fucking key to some puzzle in Bucktooth Jones' fucking Catacomb of Death.
I was thinking like maybe he runs like a fitness center now. Like he runs a
or they go see fucking Data because Data has all these weird fucking inventions.
Ooh, yeah.
And it'd be like it's like it'd be like a Q scene in any Bond movie, where Bond goes to see Q and Q gives him all these fucking gadgets.
I think the interlock
that he ends up invariably like needing throughout whatever movie. They could go see Data and Data gives him all this shit, and then
I'd like that. That's a good one. I like that one.
He's like a DIY maker. They could go and, like I said, you could, and like, cause all these guys, like, I think most of these guys are still alive. Chunk's still alive. Yeah. Corey Feldman, obviously. Josh Brolin, Sean Astin. I can't think of the name of the character for Data.
Yeah. And even some of those characters, you probably just cast somebody else and it'd work. I don't think you'd want to, but you could.
I'm saying you could just like fucking like just interweave them. Just like they don't even have to have a huge part. You could just, it'd be one of those things that like your kid would like the movie, but then like Chunk would show up and then you'd be like, oh my fucking God, it's Chunk.
Well, and even like,
and your kid's like, who's that? And you're like, why haven't I shown you this movie?
But even then, like, let's say Chunk didn't want to do it. Then that's where you interject like, oh, this is Chunk's kid. Or, like you could easily do that. Like maybe the kid Data, like his kid's all into that stuff.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they don't like all like the kids in the new one don't necessarily need to be like direct descendants of, the kids from the first one.
No, yeah. I mean, you have your core of like 3 or 4. And then like if and this is kind of getting to where you figure out if you can cast the right people or not. But I said, if Data can't do it, maybe you pick up that kid along the way, or maybe like 2/3 of the actual group are descendants of the main people, or maybe they're just like, maybe Data was my teacher and I liked him and I followed his footsteps.
But I would agree with you. I feel like if you're gonna do it, you gotta have Sean Astin and you gotta have Josh Brolin. I feel like those two would be like the linchpin for the movie, like the linchpin characters that you pull from the original. Yeah,
that's copyrighted Richard and Shawn. I like the idea of the town's back under because of the two brothers against each other. They find out that One-Eyed Willie had a brother that backstabbed him, and so they're going through all this stuff to try and figure out where that extra treasure is. And when they get there, it's just a journal of how I got backstabbed myself, lost all my gold, and family was the thing that I missed the most. Boom. Tears. That's a Christmas movie. All right, Richard, hit me with your next one.
Okay. I really didn't have an idea for this one. Because I feel like the person that did it would be able to make something amazing. I couldn't really think of anything like just off the top of my head. Spaceballs.
Huh.
I mean, we do still have Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks is still, alive and kicking and very funny and would probably make a much more amazing, funny Spaceballs movie than anything I could think of.
That's a good question. I can't really think of anything that bounces out. I mean, I guess that's one.
See, like I say Spaceballs, and you're like, I would love to see another Spaceballs movie. What? I have no idea what the fuck it would be.
I think
I would love to. I want.
You could do like Force Awakens and stuff. Like you just build new characters.
Yeah, exactly. You could just, that's what I'm saying. Like you could totally like extend it and build and put new characters in it and weave old characters into it. Bill Pullman's still around. Rick Moranis is still around.
But I don't really think there's like any big universe building on that though.
Okay. How about this? Okay. And I feel like with this, you could do, You could do something similar to the original, but you could also kind of take it maybe on a different tangent, because I feel like this is something that is completely I feel like this is a concept type world that's completely unexplored. District 9.
Yeah, I'm totally not for that.
No, you don't want to see a District 10?
No, I did not like District 9 at all.
Really?
Yeah. It just got weird when that dude turned into one. That's where it lost me. I mean, I'm all for like exploring like a alien on our planet type thing. Like, I think you could do something without the different storyline, but to me, that one is like just rehashing this. Like, the only thing you could do is rehash the same story.
Yeah. I mean, I could see what you're saying.
Which a lot of these, that's all it is. You're rehashing the same story. So,
okay. So this is a movie that I love. Personally, love. But I think I just would like to. Again, this is kind of one of those things. Like, I feel like you could take it on some tangents, but I haven't really fleshed out a cohesive story. And I know they've talked about doing a sequel or a reboot of this, but I don't know. Big Trouble in Little China.
I could be down for that. Because
I mean,
that's actually good.
You could have.
That's good because the way I look at it, it's kind of like when they did Jumanji. Because I know, haven't they tied The Rock to it?
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Because I mean, Jumanji, it's like, oh, we're remaking Jumanji, and you're like, really? Like, do you need to? But they modernized it, and they basically made it like it's basically a sequel, but it's not. And I think with Big Trouble in Little China,
and that's kind of my thing. Is like, yeah. See, that's my like. Originally, they were talking about doing a reboot of Big Trouble in Little China. I was like, don't do that.
No, I think
don't reboot it.
You make The Rock. You can make him a trucker as well. And you have to find a kind of similar story, but a different story where why is he in Little China? You know, the group that's there fighting, like the mystical people, like why are they back? Maybe that's the key is like those four, you know, Raiden looking people.
I mean, you could still put Lopan in there, and you could still, you know, like have, you know, I feel like you could have all the elements. You could just kind of, you know, shift elements around and still come up with something decent.
Oh, maybe what it is that they Jack, what's his name? Jack Burton. Maybe he gets kidnapped by those four things because they've been like trying to figure out a way to get to him. And maybe his partner or something like that, that's who The Rock is, who's running his rig now. He's got to go in Big Trouble or Little China and save Jack Burton because Jack Burton's older now. He's not as strong. And so, like, Jack Burton's told him all these stories, like, oh my God, this one time in Little Trouble, in Little China, I had big trouble. He's like, whatever, dude. And then he basically
cool story, bro.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, where the fuck do I got to drive this thing to? I got a lot lizard I got to meet. And he he has to go into Little China to save Jack Burton because he gets like a text. And Jack's like, I need you in Little China now, SOS. And he's like, fuck, I bet Jack's drunk again. And you go there, he's D&D adventure with The Rock. I'd be down for something like that.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna do Big Trouble in Little China, like, don't reboot it, because then I feel like you're taking away all the power that you had with making the first one. Because I love the first one.
That's my whole thing with this is because they always talk about like, oh, like Big Trouble in Little China, we need to reboot it. Because why? Because people know Big Trouble in Little China. It's guaranteed advertising, and a number of people are going to go. It's kind of the factory of, you know, Hollywood. But you do something like that where Jack Burton's in it. You know, forgot his name. Guy who played Jack Burton. Kurt Russell. I was going to say Kevin Russell. Kurt Russell, he has a little cameo in it. You know, like in the beginning, he gets kidnapped, and he's at the end because you don't want to focus on the main people too much because sometimes
exactly
like that can water
but like
down.
You don't want to focus on main people, but you kind of want to maybe like just dip them in for a second.
Yeah, that's what I think. You make
like
him
that's
maybe
all
the focal
that's
point.
all I would want when they reboot when they reboot something. I feel like that, you know, they're just like, to me when I hear the word reboot, I think that I feel like they're saying, well, that last one was shit, so we're going to make it better.
But that's what sparked my fancy on this because Creed was not a reboot. Like, Rocky was in it, barely. Like, he was sprinkled in. Creed 2, it's like, it's Rocky 5 or Rocky 6 or 7 or whatever it is. The focal point is very much on, like, they're both headliners. Whereas in the other one, he was a supporting actor. In this, it's Sylvester Stallone and Michael B. Jordan. They're both the lead on that. I think that's what you want to avoid is you want to sprinkle them in. It's like, oh, this is the universe that works. Jack Burton's in it. You know, his escapades years ago have finally caught up to him because he never goes back to Little China. But these people found a way to go out, use enough power to kidnap him, bring him in, and they're going to torture him and take care of him and be like, fuck you, Jack Burton. But guess what, demon people? I've got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he's going to come and fuck you up. So I'd be down for something like that.
Okay. Okay. I'll throw out one other one, and then whether you like it or not, we can go, and then we'll go back to you. Okay. Another one I had was Chronicle.
Was that the one with the kids?
The superhero one? Yeah, kids that all of a sudden got powers.
I don't think I saw that one all the way, but I mean, anything with that you could. If that's the one I think would work.
It was kind of shot in like that Cloverfield-ish kind of style. That, like, not shaky cam, but I mean, I would say out of all the shaky cam type movies like Cloverfield or Blair Witch or stuff like that, I felt like Chronicle was the least jarring because they kind of intercut the footage to justify why the shots were so steady. Like a lot of times the camera was just, sitting.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times it was like they would use like like news cameras.
Mm-hmm. So
it kind of justified the shot not looking like, it was shaking all over the place.
Yeah.
And so it was, like I said, it was less jarring on the eyes.
I think and when you said Cloverfield, that kind of what kicked in. I feel like you'd run into that with it where you'd have Chronicle Lane, which is in the Chronicle universe, but not really doesn't have anything to do with the first one. I feel like you'd kind of maybe.
Well, see, with this, I feel like you could almost do a direct sequel because I mean, you're talking about kids that all of a sudden had superpowers.
Yeah, but that's what I'm kind of avoiding here is like the direct sequel. It's more of the cut of again, it's the Creed idea. Like let's not make a sequel to this movie or like the Big Trouble in Little China. Like let's not make Big Trouble in Little China 2. Let's make something different with somebody completely new. Because I thought about bringing up Halloween as an example, the new one, but it's more of just a straight sequel.
Yeah.
If they would have focused on
it was a direct sequel, and then they also trimmed out 4 movies.
Yeah. But I think if they would have focused more on the daughter and her granddaughter, then it would be more in the realm of what I'm thinking. But with this, that was more focused on Laurie Strode. I've got 4. 2 I'm pretty excited about. The other 2 I think we can kind of just skim over pretty quick. But my first one, so they talked about this a lot with what's the dude that says just do it? It was a Transformer guy.
Shalala boof.
Yeah, shalala boof. We haven't talked about him in a long time.
I know.
But he was supposed to be the next Indiana Jones, right? Like they had Indiana Jones 4, Don't Touch My Crystal Ball, and it sucked. Like you're flying, you're seeing monkeys, and I think that's actually what caused Shia LaBeouf.
Yes.
Shia LaBeouf.
I wouldn't say that he killed the franchise. I think that movie killed the franchise, but they're fucking talking about doing another one.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
We're
I don't want
about fucking doing an Indiana Jones 5, to which I am like, why the fuck?
I don't want Indiana Jones 5 with Harrison Ford running it and Shia LaBeouf in it running as Indiana Jones. So what you do, Richard? Again, I like things set in now as well. Like, don't show me stuff way in the past. Show me stuff now.
Yeah.
So what we do, Richard, and again, I'm always a big fan too of when it seems to fit, flipping the gender on things too. So I think this would be really good for that. And mainly because I've seen this character in a comic book. So what we do, Richard, is we make Indiana Jones, Dr. Jones in now, and it's Indiana Jones's granddaughter. So we get rid of Shia LaBeouf. We get, Harrison Ford can kind of bounce in. And this is essentially you could make it very similar to the Dr. Aphra character in the new Star Wars comics. Maybe she isn't as it belongs in a museum as her granddad, but she's going through, and it's kind of, you mix it, it's a little bit of Tomb Raider, a little bit of, what would you be? Actually, you know what? Honestly, that's what it is. It's female Tomb Raider. Or it's Indiana Jones Tomb Raider.
So Tomb Raider,
Yeah.
It's female Tomb Raider. So Tomb Raider.
Yeah. Well, I mean, instead of it being Laura Croft, it's Dr. Jones. No time for love, Dr. Jones.
I mean, isn't that kind of what Tomb Raider is? I mean, Tomb Raider is female Indiana Jones.
Yeah, no, that's...
I mean, that was kind of the reason that the game came about, was it was, like, hey, this is like Indiana Jones, but you're a chick with square boobs.
That was
and then technology went forward and like, oh my God, we can make the boobs round now.
Well, that's the connection I just made in my head. It's like Tomb Raider really is female Dr. Jones. But with this, but that's the thing. Like, a lot of people know Tomb Raider, but you throw Indiana Jones out there and you're like, oh my gosh, this is Indiana Jones's granddaughter. And you follow the format of Tomb Raider pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Not really close, but similar. I mean, you've got the movie there. Like, I don't know. Did you see the new Tomb Raider at all?
No. But
fucking awesome.
I have seen a lot of footage from the last couple games, Tomb Raider games. They're really good.
Yeah, the new Tomb Raider. I mean, like I said, like again, that's why I didn't connect it until you said it. But it was Indiana Jones, just with a female lead. I think you do that with this. You find the right chick to run it, and you give her this, island. You give her this, kind of mythical, semi-mythical thing to go after. I don't know if there's any. Can you think of any good like religious things? Because they all had religious tie-ins to them. Could you see like an Indiana Jones 5?
Like another example, another good example that I could think of is like look at the. I mean, again, we're going to video games here, but look at the Uncharted series.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you've got a lot of.
I mean, there you have Nathan Drake. I feel like if you do see, I think that when you look at Indiana Jones, I would say that he was kind of the linchpin for those movies. But I feel like those movies could kind of stand alone.
Yeah, I agree.
Like those three movies weren't really connected to each other aside from, hey, we're killing Nazis.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is when you take Indiana Jones, it's like, we're doing Indiana Jones 5 because they're going to do one. It's like
they are.
Instead of having Harrison Ford try to reprise a role or have Shia LaBeouf be in it, you want you want a face of Indiana Jones for the next 10 years. You do that by casting, like they talked about Indiana Jones's kid. It's like, no, skip that. Make it his granddaughter. Make it further into the future. And she's, again, we kind of already tied to it. She's like a Tomb Raider. You take those kinds of stories because that one did well. You could take Drake stories and you're putting her in those similar things, but it is just with the tagline of being Indiana Jones.
Okay. Well, I'm not not to be like negative Nancy here.
You are negative on all this.
I'm not trying to. Okay, I'm not intentional. I'm devil's advocate here. Why put a movie in the quote Indiana Jones universe at all? Because it's essentially the universe. It's essentially that with. There's nothing really to nothing really to connect it.
So to tie this back to the reason I was kind of doing this is because you're in that pitch meeting. They're like, we're doing Indiana Jones 5. Either we're doing Indiana Jones 5 with Shia LaBeouf and Harrison Ford, or we're doing some kind of original idea and pointing it to more like the Creed approach.
So you're saying like if there's a gun to my head and I have to make Indiana Jones, it's either make Indiana Jones 5 or I'm pulling the trigger. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, but essentially the pull the trigger is like we're doing Indiana Jones the same old. We're getting Crystal Skulls too. Or you can kind of interject and be like, why don't we do a Creed idea? Why don't we find a different character to carry this franchise?
Okay, in that sense, then yeah, you could do something like I said, you have like you use something like the Uncharted series or Tomb Raider, for example.
Because when you look at it, you'd be like, well,
let's make Tomb Raider and just put Indiana Jones fucking
essentially,
logo on it.
That's what you're gonna do. Because that's what they did. You'd be like, well, why don't you just create something original? It's like, well, you could, but if you have Indiana Jones with a female lead and Temple,
this is how we get Steven Spielberg to make it.
Yeah, and then you have Temple Searcher Joan or Temple Searcher Samantha. Which one are people going to go to? Indiana Jones.
What would you call her? Would she be Indiana Jones?
She'd be Dr. Jones, because she'd be unmarried, I think, or she'd keep her last name if she was married. What What would you call her?
Would she be like Ohio Jane?
You'd call her Samantha. She'd go by Sam because everybody who
Pennsylvania Sam.
Pennsylvania Sam.
Yeah, let's just pick a random state and Ohio Sam.
Texas Sam. No, what I was saying is because she'd go by Sam, and every time she goes in there, they'd be like, "Oh, I see. Are you Dr. Jones's wife?" She's like, "No, I'm Sam, Dr. Sam Jones." And
I know he's into young chicks, but God.
But they'd catch him as like, "Oh, Sam Jones. Oh, that's Samantha. Oh, well, I feel like a jerk face." He'd be like, "Ha ha, take that, you pigs."
Chauvinistic bastards.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I mean,
that one's got me pretty excited.
I'd go see it. I will say that. Like, I'd go see it. Like, you're saying Indiana Jones, and it looks pretty decent. I'm like, yeah, I'll go see this.
So let's see. This one, I'm kind of excited about this. And it's essentially Jurassic Park. Like, Jurassic Park kind of tried to do this. So they did Jurassic World. They brought on all new characters. I don't think they had any of the original ones in the first one. The second one they did, but it was like very cameo-y. But I don't think they did it right. You know, there's a fan theory out there that the Chris Pratt character is the kid from the very first one that was like making fun of the doctor with the raptor stuff.
Oh, I have heard that, yeah.
Yeah, but they never play on that. But what I think is like right now, I don't know, spoiler alerts, if you've seen Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, like dinosaurs are all over. They got out. They're like in the world. So what I would say is you make Jurassic World with that kid growing up, and it's a dystopian LA where dinosaurs are running all over. So I feel like there's a video game that was kind of like this where you're fighting dinosaurs.
So it's like Mad Max meets dinosaurs?
Yeah. Isn't there a game where you're fighting like is it one of the Uncharted's? Or maybe it's like starts with an R or something like that. I feel like there's a video game out there where you're on an island fighting dinosaurs. But that's what this would be. It's Mad Max, but you're fighting dinosaurs. Turok. Yeah, I think that's it.
That was a comic. That was a really good comic.
It was a video game too.
Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
Wasn't it a video game?
It was a comic first.
Oh, yeah. But it was a video game, right? At some point?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what it is. Like you're fighting dinosaurs in a dystopian world. They've learned to breed. They're kind of taking over. It's like any zombie movie you want, except it's dinosaurs is the killer. Oh, fuck. You can make a TV series out of that. Well,
yeah, you could.
Maybe not because budget-wise, but...
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is like you kind of...
Well, fuck, Amazon just spent like $8 gajillion to do a Lord of the Rings series. Like,
why not?
Why not dinosaurs?
Yeah. Give me $200 million. Let's make this movie.
There we go.
Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? It's like it's different from the original franchise. It's using the property, the IP, but it's putting it into kind of a genre. This is the first one that's really kind of put into a different genre.
I mean, I feel like honestly, like I like the idea you just said. Like, I would watch this if it was a series.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool
because then you could kind of interweave. You could interweave elements. You could pull from all the movies. And and stick them and just kind of breadcrumb them throughout the whole series.
You run into Dr. Grant at some point. You have to
or Ian Malcolm or
the kids from the originals.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty interesting. But yeah, I just think like this dystopian kind of LA with the dinosaurs running around.
So Walking Dead, but dinosaurs.
Yeah, pretty much. Because if you made it a series, you could like tackle like. Because, I mean, they're always like, oh, my God, in a dystopian world, there's, oh, shit, you have people dressed up as dinosaurs. And they eat your face. Crazy.
People that worship the dinosaurs like gods.
Oh, yeah, you said it like 15 years in the future. That would be pretty awesome. That movie's getting made. I want to write that tonight. All these got me excited. I wish I could get like somebody to be like, hey, I'll give you $5,000 to write that. I'd be like, fucking right, I will.
I think you should write that Goonies movie tonight.
That Goonie one would be really good.
It would be.
Let's see. So these we'll just touch on real quick because they kind of follow the same theme I put together. But I said Home Alone. But with this, what happens is you follow Kevin, but he leaves his kid.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's...
Okay. I never understood the logic behind that. Like, motherfucker, like, you left one of your kids.
Yeah.
And also, like, how the hell did you manage to pay for a trip to Paris for like 18 goddamn people?
That's a good point. And
own like a 12-bedroom house in Chicago.
that is a big ass house too. Yeah, they never say what their dad does. Drug dealer,
Gotta be.
and the last one,
drug mule.
I just said Wizard of Oz, but kind of a similar following somebody from Dorothy's lineage going back to Oz. I don't know if that would be good or not, but I know they have talked about rebooting Wizard of Oz, and I'm in the same boat. It's like, do not give me a reboot of Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz stands on its own. Give me something like just set now with that property, but it's different. It's not the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. I'm 100% behind that. Don't. I think that's the general. I think if we're wrapping this up, and I'm putting out my closing thoughts here, I think the lesson we could take away from this is that you can respect the source material without having to completely rewrite it.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I mean, we just put out ideas for
6 or 7 movies.
Very popular movies, and we just made up like movies that I would go see and you would go see, and we didn't have to change source material at all. And I feel like you know, in a lot of these cases, and to bring it all the way back to the beginning, we were talking about Spider-Man, and people wonder why the latest incarnation of Spider-Man has done so well. And I think it's because they didn't rehash.
Yeah, no, good point.
A kid that got bit by a fucking radioactive spider and has spider powers. Like, they just automatically are like, all right, this is Spider-Man. You know who the fuck Spider-Man is. Let's go.
Yep. Uncle Ben's already dead. You already saw it twice.
Yep. You've seen Uncle Ben die. You've seen him get bit by a spider. You've seen it twice. Like, you know that story. We don't need to tell you that. We don't need to tell you that whole shit. Like, let's go. You know, people talk about, like, you know, what, like the shitty thing that happened, like shitty things that happen with like the Batman movies. Like, how many times have you seen Thomas and Martha Wayne get shot in the fucking face?
Well, that's like the big one, the newest one. They're like, oh, we're not going to really hash on that. They spent 10 minutes on it. And it was the whole movie.
I have seen Thomas and Martha Wayne die like 5 times.
Oh, man.
I understand why Batman does what he does. You don't need to tell me that. Like, I know why he's Batman. Let's just start the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Don't backstory me. I know the story. My mom knows why Batman is fucking Batman. Yeah. Why do you have to tell me? Why do you have to go over it again?
And if somebody asks in the theater, it's like, why did he become Batman? It's like, his parents died. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
you know, like I said, like we were just like I just said with Spider-Man, like I think that's one of the reasons that the movie works so well is because the director and the studio assumes that you haven't been living under a rock for the last 20 fucking years, 30, 40 fucking years. Like, you know the story about Spider-Man, and I feel like to a point you don't need to know the backstory of Spider-Man.
I think it helps a little bit.
He's a kid. He's got spider powers. Like, he's a kid. He's got spider powers. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Let's live in the now.
Like it. Yeah, I think of the ones we talked about, the Goonies ones got me pumped. Back to the Future, Jaws, Jurassic Park. I think that's it. Like, those got me pumped. Indiana Jones got me pumped too. You
totally jumped over my Fifth Element idea. You could have Bruce Willis and Mila Jovovich's kid.
No, I don't want Bruce Willis anywhere near my movies. All right, well, if you're done with your Richard's closing thoughts, I will do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're at languagebronus.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languagebronus. Email us at eatthebeaver@languagebronus.com. Leave us some reviews and all that great stuff. And remember, you can find us as part of the Pod Bros Network.
Because it's the best reimagined podcast sign on the internet.
Oh, it's the podcast sign on the internet that does not need to be rebooted.
No, never.
All right, Richard. Was there anything else before I close her out?
Give us money to make these movies.
Yes. Copyright Richard and Shawn on all these ideas.
Talking to you, Netflix.
Or Universal.
I feel like Netflix is our best shot.
Well, it depends on who owns the property.
Does it? They got Netflix money. They just walk in and be like, hey, we're Netflix. We want the Goonies. $12 bajillion.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I got these two podcasters. They're totally going to write it. Whatever.
Right.
Give me my check.
12 billion still cashes.
Right.
All right. Well, that's all the bonus for this show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we reboot and eat the beaver.
We'll reimagine eating the beaver.
Richard, I can't believe you don't like the idea of a podcaster in a Jaws universe.
Well, is that because you secretly want me eaten by a shark?
I say we let him go.